Hey viewers, so in this video we are going to build this component from the Twitter UI. And the nice thing about focusing on this small part of the UI is that I learned how to use nextjs, which is a React framework, Radix UI, which is UI components, and also Tailwind CSS, which is what I've been using for quite a few years now. And the last one is also React icons. And before we start building this component, I would assume you'd have a tiny bit of knowledge with Next.js and you're comfortable with Tailwind CSS, HTML, basic JavaScript. So we are going to start off with Next.js. So here I'm just going to copy this command. I'm going to go into terminal. I have a folder, so cd or ls insights, and this is called YouTube. So I'm going to now paste that command. Let's just call this Twitter. And would you like to use TypeScript? We'll go no. ESLint no. Tailwind yes. No. And yes. We're just basically going with all the defaults. So now it's installed the dependencies. I'm just going to ls, so we have the cd into Twitter, and then code space dot. This will open up your VS Code. And now I'm just going to try and organize this a bit. Okay, so we just close that. Hit Command J to bring up the terminal, and we're going to do npm run dev. We're just going to hide that. And what we're also going to do, we're just going to bring this up a bit. So here's the local host 3001, and you'll probably have 3000. I'm going to touch command and then click. Let me just see if I can turn on my keystrokes as well. Show keystrokes. Yes, okay. So here we go. This is up and running, and we're going to go into app, and we're going to get rid of all of that. So I'm going to get rid of main, and we're just going to type in main. Oops, we're going to go main and then hello. You can see it's made changes already. We want to get rid of that CSS, so I'm just going to go up here and then go delete, save. So we are going to create a folder called components, and in that folder we're going to call that tweet.jsx, and this is a little shortcut. So if you type RAFCE and then we're going to hit enter, this will bring in some code. I'm just going to delete that top one there, as we don't need that. If I hit save, I want to now bring this component into the page. So here I'm going to then say tweet. So now it's not coming up because what we need to do is we need to import it. So sometimes it actually does it by default. Not sure why it didn't do it then. So import tweet. Hopefully it'll come up. Hit enter, save, and then now we can see our component with tweet. So the very first thing we want to do is actually get an avatar. We go to Radix UI, we go to documentation, and there's some feedback that the documentation is not very clear. And this is how I managed to navigate it. So I'm going to go to avatar. Now what they've done is they've put a really good example here, but what I did is I started down here. So let's install the React avatar. So now don't worry about how this looks. This looks a bit weird. I don't know why my terminal looks a bit funny. So I just pasted that in and hit enter. Now it's installed this. So you can look in your package, you can see we have the React avatar. So now we just need to import it. So if I go to tweet and we go to the top, and we also want to bring in these. So here I'm gonna paste that in, and it straight away converted to in brackets, which is pretty nice. So hit save, and we have to do npm run. So I'm just gonna go up. It should select recent ones, but my terminal is really strange for some reason. So I just cleared it. So npm run dev. Ooh, it's going really funny. npm run dev. Nope. I think there's something wrong with my terminal. npm run dev. Enter, enter. Okay. So I'm just going to close this one down. We go back. Okay, so now there's nothing inside, and we want to get some of this content. So we're going to get this middle one here, which is the root. So you just want to copy that, paste that in, save. Hopefully we're going to see this here, and we are not, and there should be a reason why. So Control C to get out of that. I'm going to npm run dev again, and I'm going to Command R. Okay, so we have an error here, and this is simply to do with use client. So what we have to do is just include this up here. So use client, command save, and then hopefully we're going to see the avatar. There we go. So we have our very first component from Radix UI into nextjs, which is pretty cool. So the next thing to do is we're going to go back to Radix UI, and we actually want to use their form, and all we want is this and this. We want the tweet text area. So again, we just install the component. So Control C, Command V, enter. Hopefully that's installing it, and it looks a bit funny on my one. Again, you can check here, and we have the form. So here's the anatomy, and we're gonna copy the form, go back to tweet, and we want to go here and paste. Now we have to also import it as well, so copy that, hit save. Now we want to npm run dev again, but this whole thing is really strange. npm run dev, hit enter. Okay. So if we go here, we hit enter. Okay, so we got an error here, and what I want to try to do is, here it says children is not a function. So from my limited knowledge, I'm just going to delete the let's see, if we delete this and this, because we don't need any validation at the moment. And also get rid of the message. Okay, so that is back. There is nothing at the moment, so we need to go back to Radix, and now from the anatomy we want to now get the bones. So here we actually want the question. So here we go to we actually want this one here. So I'm going to go to label, paste that. Then from the control we actually want the text area, paste that. We actually want the button as well, so form submit as child, and then paste that as well. Save. Let's go back, and there we are. So let's make a couple of changes on the Tailwind side. So Command B to hide the side menu. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these default styles. We actually want it to be rounded full, and we want the background to be blue -600. We also want the PX, which is the horizontal padding, to be let's say 4, and then PY top and bottom 2, heading none, and let's get rid of the shadow, and let's get rid of all of this as well. Oops, I'm just getting rid of these. We don't need to make it perfect. We're just learning how to create this component, and let's just say text white. We actually want it to say tweet. Okay, so there we go. One thing we want to do by default is have it disabled, because you cannot use that button until you've tweeted something or entered something in the text area. But we also want to have a disabled styling. So if we put disabled, and we want the opacity to be 50%. Okay, so that's disabled. And now the text area, we actually want that to have a placeholder of what's happening. There we go. And we also don't want there to be any padding. We're going to say text large, and it's not going to be text white, it's going to be text gray 900. So if we start typing, there we go, and I think that should be it. So just want to get rid of all of these shadows. Ooh. Don't think I'm selecting them correctly. So when you hover, yeah, you can see that Radix have got some pretty nice default styles. We'll just leave it like that. Okay, so the next thing to do is to get the icons in. We are going to use a library called React Icons, so we have to install this again. So I'm just going to copy all that, Control C, and then paste, hit enter. Okay, so let's go to Hero Icons 2, and the one I want is photo. So if I go to tweet, we actually need to import the icon. So paste that in and enter again. We're getting the second one here, copy, then we replace it here like so. So therefore, if I go down to the button, I'm going to have a div which is going to paste that in and self-closing. So now if I go to npm run dev, we should hopefully see the icon. And we're not seeing anything because we probably need to give this some style. So class name, I'm going to say width 5, height 5, inline flex, save. Okay, so still nothing. If I just hit Command R, let's see if there's any difference in that. So we might have to restart the server, and it probably is the case. So Control, oh no, there we go, just took a while. So there we go, and now we just need to do that another 4 times. I'm not getting all the icons to save time. And we hit save. So now we go back, hopefully we see 4. There we are. So we go div, and we're doing this because we're going to wrap them all in a div, because we actually want that to class name flex. I'm going to do Command B just to hide the sidebar. We're going to say gap 4. Okay, because my computer's very slow. Now we want to combine both of these into a div because we want the button to be on the right. So I'm going to go div, and then we want to wrap this and the button like so. So here we do class name. It'd be nice if you can just put class, and we do flex. We want them to be items center, and we want it to be justified between, so it will push it all the way to the right. Next thing we need to do is we need these two to be in its own div. So let me just close the avatar and close the format root. So here we go class name flex. So that's pretty cool. And then we do gap of, should we say 4? Not sure why this is down, so let's just double check why. Oh yeah, and for this we actually, that's probably why you can't see the label. So let's give it a gray of 9. However, for this, which is a tweet, we don't actually want to show this. So what you can do is do for screen readers SR only. So now that should align up. There we go. But what we want is for this row to be margin top of 4, because we want it to be a bit of a gap, and that's it. Now one thing is, you can see this is not going the full width. We want this to be the full width. So let me just put in BG pink 100 just so we can see the whole thing. So in this root, I'm going to go class name width full. There we go. So that's gone nice and full. And yeah, just get rid of the pink. Okay, and there we are. We have our tweet component. And then probably last thing, just to make things a bit neater, is we have a border bottom of gray 200. And then we need to have some padding of 4 all around. There we are. So now if I go Command B, we go back to page. So now if I was to so the next thing you want to do is you want to think about layout, right? So this is where you're going to have all the different components. So the nice thing about this is you've now built a component using, well, starting with Next.js. You have a component folder. You've managed to use Radix UI, go through the documentation, install it, integrate it, and then a bit of Tailwind CSS to customize the look of it. So now you have the flow or the process on how to do other components, such as the sidebar. You've got the multiple tweets below the tweet feed. So it's very similar to this. If you are up for that challenge, go ahead and start building the other components one by one. But for this, let's think about the layout just very quickly. So there's going to be 3 columns. So here we can imagine a div. Oops, gosh, can't type today. And just for now, we're gonna align this in the middle. We're gonna have a max width of, let's say, large, and it's MX auto, so it's gonna go in the middle. And now you can see that kind of resembles the Twitter UI. Okay, and then that middle column is going to have a border left and a border right with, oh, Command B, can I hide that? And it's going to be border gray 200. Okay, so we got that middle column with the lines. So now if I was just to Option Shift and down, this basically copies the whole line. Sorry, I'm a Mac user, not a Windows user. And then hit save, you can now see it stacks. So this is the really nice thing about components, which is pretty sweet. And let me just make that a bit larger. So yeah, I think we've learned quite a lot of different technologies. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think about this video? It's obviously a very simple video, but you're using a lot of different technologies, and the only thing about this is, if I'm being picky, we want that to be fully rounded. So if I just go back to tweet, and let me just go here, and let's just say 40 by 40, and hit save. Okay, and we want there to be flex shrink 0. Okay, so that looks a bit better to me. We're not doing any there's some weird flex stuff that happens sometimes when you have responsive. Well, there we are. So leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. So I'd love to know in the comments, have you used Radix UI for client projects? So let me know what you think about this tutorial in the comments. Do you think that is quite easy to follow? Do you now have the confidence to then go on and start creating more components using Radix UI, Next.js and Tailwind CSS? I'll see you in the next video.